Good afternoon, Year 10. Here are the answers to the first online lesson from Tuesday. Lesson 1 was about density and followed on from the live lesson that we had last Friday. Slide 1 asked you to recall what we had discussed about the particle arrangements in the live lesson on Friday, and by getting you to draw the particle arrangement in the solids and liquids and gases. We were spot on with the solid. The particles were held together with strong forces of attraction in a fixed, regular arrangement. You couldn't show it in your pictures, but the particles don't have much energy, so vibrate about their fixed positions. You were spot on with gases too. There is almost no forces of attraction between the particles. The gases have more energy than liquids and solids, so they're free to move and are constantly moving with random speeds and directions. A few of us tripped up with the liquid. The particles in liquids have weaker forces of attraction than the particles in a solid, so the particles are still close together, but they can move past each other. They have an irregular arrangement and move in random directions at low speeds. In particle theory, you can think of particles that make up matter as tiny balls. You can explain the way the matter behaves in terms of how these tiny balls move and the forces between them. The particles of a substance in each state are the same, only the arrangement and energy of the particles is different. Slide 3 and 4 linked back to September when we did the structures and bonding topic. The properties of solids, liquids and gases is what this question was about. So properties are how materials behave, and you can tell whether something is a solid, a liquid or a gas by looking at the features it has. All states of matter can be weighed. All states of matter take up space. Only solids have a fixed shape. Liquids will take the shape of the container that they're put in, and gases will spread out of the container if you take the lid off. Solids and liquids have a fixed volume. This means that wherever you put them, they will take up the same amount of space. Gases can spread out, so their volume will increase until they can't spread anymore. The particles in solids and liquids are touching each other. There's no space between the particles, and as a result, they cannot be compressed. Compressed means squashed. The particles in a gas have large gaps between them, so you can push the particles closer together when you compress them. So, a few words were highlighted on these slides just to go through these. Attraction means drawn towards, so the particles are drawn towards each other. Bonds are the forces of attraction that hold the particles together. Regular pattern is where the particles have a pattern that repeats in the same way. And colliding means bumping into each other. This was a little test in using the information you had in a different format, which is a common style of question on the higher paper. So pulling your information together and realizing that you could only tick one box a line because each state of matter has different properties. So solids have a fixed shape and volume, gases have particles that move freely at high speeds, and liquids have fixed volumes but no fixed shape. Most of us felt pretty confident with the 3 states of matter. However, if you still aren't after watching this video, email me and I can send you some extra help. Slide 8. A few words were highlighted on this next slide. Volume is the amount of space something takes up. Density is the amount of mass in a given volume. Something that is denser has more mass in the same volume. Densities are more than one density, so it's the plural. There are more than one type of liquid, and because they're each made of more than one type of atom, they will have slightly different densities. Sometimes with a low density, something with a low density will have a small mass for the same volume. Okay. So explain why solids usually have higher densities than liquids. Solids usually have higher densities than liquids and gases because in the same amount of solid, there will be more particles, therefore more mass. Why do gases have low densities? Gases have low densities because the particles are spread out. There will be less particles in the same volume compared to a liquid or solid. One thing that was highlighted on this slide was kilograms per meter cubed. This means how many kilograms are there in 1 meter cubed of the material. This can then be used to compare 1 meter cubed of any material with each other to see what the density is. Okay, I asked you on this slide to write down these equations, so I hope that you did. So calculate the density of a 5,400 kilogram block of aluminium with a volume of 2 meters cubed. So the first step is to choose the right equation. Density equals mass divided by volume. If you put the numbers in, you should have done 5,400 divided by 2, which equals 2,700 kilograms per meters cubed. Calculate the mass of a steel block. So this time you know the volume and the density, so you need the equation mass equals density times volume. So you would do 7,700 times 2, which equals 15,400 kilograms. This slide asks you to explain. Explain means tell me why. Why is aluminium used to build planes? Look at the data for a clue. It tells you the density, so you should be talking about density in your answer. Aluminium is less dense than steel. This means for the size of a plane, the metal will be much lighter than steel. Calculate the mass of air in a room 5 by 4 by 3. And the equation telling you how to calculate the volume of a cuboid was added on this slide. A room is a cuboid, so you should have done 5 times 4 times 3, which equals 60 meters cubed. And if the density is 1.3, the mass equals density times volume. 1.3 times 60 equals 78 kilograms. Another question which gives you data to look at. So the expectation from you would be that the answer you write refers to the data. Why does cork float on water but iron sinks? So you're comparing both materials against water. You can see in the table that cork has a lower density than water and iron has a higher density than water. So your answer is that cork floats because it has a lower density than water. Iron sinks because it has a higher density than water. Another explain question. So what will happen and why? So think about what happens when someone sits on a bike. Well, the tyres, certainly on my bike, get squashed a bit, which will decrease the volume the air has. If the space becomes smaller, the particles will have to move closer together, and this will increase density. One final temperature check, a wider spread on this. So if you are one of the people I noted down on the orange face and you need more help, then send me a message. I can help you. I am just sat at home waiting for you to require help in amongst the marking, obviously, in the making of videos. So there was another lesson today, which I'm going to mark as soon as I upload this video. So I'll see you in about an hour when the next video is ready.